Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do Naruto chapter 623 review, right? That is 623. Now, this week's chapter of Naruto is once again a very simple and straightforward chapter of Naruto right there for you on the page. So, this chapter can actually be divided into like two very simple parts. The first part is more character growth, character interaction, and exposition between Madara and Hashirama when they were kids. And this exposition can be divided into three categories. Number one, the realization of equal conviction. Number two is the will to seek greater power, which is why they're continuously training. And number three is the foundations of Konoha. So that's what the exposition is when it comes to Madara and Hashirama. And all that's part one. And then part two is the quote-unquote ambush setup by the two similar parties. Actually, in this case, the two families. The two families, because they're pretty much, you know, parallel families. Apparently, this rivalry, this bond, doesn't just stem between Hashirama and Madara. Apparently, it goes to Izuna and freaking Tobirama. At the same time, it goes to both of their fathers, alright? Tajima Uchiha and Butsuma Senju, yeah. So, apparently, the bond goes both ways. Not just with Hashirama and Madara, but with both of their families. They both have younger brothers. Hashirama has Tobirama. Madara has Izuna. Both of the younger brothers know each other, clearly in a combat sense. Izuna, he's like, yo, Tobirama. And then Tobirama's like, yo, Izuna. And then we have the freaking two fathers. We have Tajima's like, apparently we're on the same page, isn't it? But then Butsuma Senju, he's like, yeah, apparently we are. And then they both had freaking ambushes set up. So apparently, and I was like, what the fuck? So that kind of, you know, it tripped me out. But I mean, I'll get into that later. But the main part of the chapter is part one, clearly, in my personal opinion. The dialogue, the exposition, the character interaction was there. It was obviously there again. And there was like a miniature time skip in that part one where a certain time passed between the first time they meet. But the thing about that is that that's not really important. What's really important is what they're talking about. That's very important because it sets up the foundation of both characters and Konoha itself. So, but before I get into that, all right? Let me go back. Let me go back. Let King of Lightning go back to last week's chapter, Naruto chapter 622. Now, obviously, in that last chapter, right? In that last chapter, I said that because of Madara's wording, we didn't know whether or not Izuna was alive, and clearly he is, because we can see from this week's chapter he's clearly alive. But the problem is that people, I don't know what the fuck was going on. It was like people, I was seeing like I got PMs. I saw the Shonen Knights video that they did about the Naruto chapter that they did a summary of, pretty much. And it's like, where is this assumption coming from? I'm confused as fuck. Because Madara in the last chapter, he says, I have, H-A-V-E, I have 4 brothers. Or rather, I had 4 brothers, H-A-D. Nowhere in that sentence is he saying, you know, I had 4 brothers. No, well, correction, I have 4 brothers. Rather, I had 4 brothers. Nowhere in that statement is it implied that he lost only 3 of his brothers and then 1 remained. No, the implication is all of his brothers died. That is the implication. That is the implication. If you want to say that 3 brothers of yours died and you have 1 left, then say I had 4 brothers, 3 of them died, and 1's left. Then say that. Fucking say that. It wasn't until this chapter It wasn't until this chapter where after their training, Madara tells Hashirama, like after he almost fucked up with the Sharingan thing, he tells them like, yeah, like I have one brother left. Okay, alright then. Then say it. So when I said in last week's chapter that Madara was lying, I'm right. I'm right from a well, how would you say it? It's kind of like a difference here. I'm right in a different way, where yeah, it's the same difference. Exactly, it's the same difference. Okay, understand that he lied. It's a white lie, or he's not telling the entire truth. It's the same difference. Understand that, because the fact is that the implication was in fact that he only had 4 brothers and all of them died when he said I had 4 brothers. So Togurama in his mind, Hashirama, he's not thinking in his mind, okay, well, he must have lost 3 brothers and 1 died. No. No. If someone told me, yo, I had 8 brothers, or rather I had 8 brothers, I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to assume right there that all of your brothers died. You don't assume, okay, well, you know, only 2 died and now you have fucking 6. Like, no, that is not the implication. Okay, that is not the implication. If you're going to say, I have 1 brother left out of the 4 I had, then say, I have 4 brothers, rather I had 4 brothers, but only 1 remains. Say that. Then say that. So I am right. I'm right because it's the same difference. Understand that. Please, Mother Jesus. Mother Jesus! Okay, alright, now, that being said. Now, this week's chapter Naruto, okay? Now that that's, you know, off our shoulders, you know. Okay, now that that's off our shoulders, back to the chapter. Now, once again, right? Part 1, which is, in my opinion, the most important part. Basically, the first stage. At the beginning of the chapter, we see that both Hashirama and Madara, they actually have the same conviction. Their conviction is to just get rid of all this war and shit, where children are dying, where their families are dying, where their brothers are dying. The point is to get rid of all this shit. That's the point. That's what their convictions are. That's what their ideals are. That's what their dreams are. And in fact, Hashirama says in this chapter that the only difference, but actually no, Hashirama says that the only thing that is in common between him and Madara is the fact that they are both dreamers and they have the same convictions. So that's number 1. Number 2, Madara, in this part of the actual chapter, he states how the adults aren't going to listen to us unless we're fucking strong. Now we understand why Madara is, and most actually, in this sense, a lot of Uchiha are obsessed, or were obsessed about power and becoming stronger. Yeah, because it's part of that conviction that Madara had, and Hashirama has it too. But you can tell that conviction is not as important as the other ones, or that part of his goal is not as important as the other part, which is clear to make Konoha. That is the most important part for Hashirama. For Madara, you can argue that it was to get stronger, because he even says, I have no weaknesses, even though he has that pee thing where he was pissing. Hashirama standing behind him, and he's like, yo, I can't pee, man. Get the fuck away from me, man. Get off me, bro. So, but right there, like, that's very important, because he understood that, yes, they have dreams, they have ideals. But in order to make their ideals, in order to make their dreams and convictions actually, you know, prosper into success, they need to have power. They need to have power. Otherwise, the adults ain't gonna fuck with us. Not only that, but this is also implied, and this is also reinforced when Hashirama's father, what's his name again? Butsuma Senju. He talks about how apparently Madara, he's like an Uchiha prodigy. Like, he's taken out mad of their adult members in the Senju. Like, he's taken out a bunch of adult Senjus. Like a bunch of them. So again, like, this notion of needing more power is reinforced by the conversation that Hashirama had with his father and also seeing Madara the way he is today. So that's number 2, very important for Madara. And number 3, very important for the foundation of Konoha, because not only do we see the area which becomes Konoha later on, which is like some weird, it's kind of like a mock plateau. Like, it's not a full-blown plateau, it's not, because it curves up and then flatlines. And then there's like actual peaks on the actual plateau itself. So I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like a dome rock semi-mountain structure. I'm not too sure what's going on. Like, it's very strange. It really is. Like, I have no idea how you could geologically make something like that. I have no idea. But that's not important. The fact is that what's important here is that number 1, we see the location of Konoha. And number 2, actually, no, number 2 is that I'm starting to believe that the river or the stream that Madara and Hashirama, where they first met, where they continue to meet and train, I have a feeling that is going to be the Valley of the End, like later on in this flashback. I have a strong feeling that it is. I really do. Because, like, if you look at the actual chapter, like, when they're throwing rocks at each other in order to, like, warn each other that, yeah, like, there's an ambush coming and, like, run, like, we see that Madara is on the left-hand side of that river, and Hashirama is on the right-hand side of this river. And if you look at the picture right here, you see that on the left-hand side is Madara, and on the right-hand side is Hashirama. So I have a strong feeling that this river will later on become the Valley of the End. I have a strong feeling. I really do. So that's the last part of that. The last part of part 1 is basically the fact that Hashirama lays down what he wants. He lays it all down. He has like a mock speech where he's like, "Yeah, I want a school where we can educate young children. I want teachers who will guide these children into certain skill sets. Missions will be divided into certain skill sets, and then there'll be ranks, and no children will ever have to fight in wars ever again." And so that's his plan. Like, we see the foundation of Konoha, not only in actual location, but also in Hashirama's mind. That's why this dialogue is very important, because it sets that up. And then part 2 is very simple. I mean, apparently he was being somewhat tailed by Tobirama. He informs his father, and then they're like, "Yo, this kid's an Uchiha prodigy. Take him out." They meet at the river, skip rocks. Apparently, the Uchiha that Madara's father had the same plan. And then we see Tobirama and Izuna, and then Tajima, the father of Izuna and Madara, and Butsuma Senju, the father of Tobirama and Hashirama. And then they face off. So now it's going to be like some weird family feud going on. And that's the chapter. So the chapter overall, I mean, I'll give it it was good. It was better than last week. It was actually a good chapter in my opinion. Yeah, it was exposition. It was. But and more so than last week's chapter, it was way more important. It was way more important. Because it solidifies the character. Well, not solidifies, but it helps propel the character scheme and the character foundations of both Hashirama and Madara. So that's it. I'm done. King Lightning. Be sure to, of course, rate, comment, and subscribe as always. And now I'm signing out. Peace! Have a nice day.